What's up, YouTube friends? Welcome back to Horticulture Geek. Thank you so much for joining me today here on the channel. It's a very exciting day here in the garden because we are finally planting our tulip bulbs for 2022. Yes, you heard that right. We are planting our tulip bulbs for 2022. It is January the 12th today, and I am working on my tulip bulbs. Now, that may seem incredibly late for some of you, but it is a perfect time for me here in Central Arkansas. As a matter of fact, I had my bulbs ordered from Color Blends, and I had them pre-chill the bulbs for me, just because I don't have a spare refrigerator space here to do that on my own. And in the South, we must pre-chill our bulbs because our average winter lows don't get cold enough, long enough to chill the bulbs in the ground as would happen up north. So I pay Color Blends to pre-chill my bulbs. And because of that planting time frame and that pre-chill, I did not receive my bulbs until the day before Christmas Eve. So literally the day before Christmas Eve, FedEx dropped them off on the porch. And then we had Christmas events and family events and all sorts of stuff going on. And then it rained and rained and rained. And so here we are, January the 12th, and I am finally planting these tulip bulbs. And it's a great time for me to plant. It's a beautiful sunny day today, no rain in sight. It's cold. I can see my breath a little bit, but that's okay. We're gonna power through it. So let me show you where we're going to be working in the yard today, where these tulip bulbs are going to all be up front. And I'll show you what I've ordered. And I've already done an order video previously. And if I'll try to link that here somewhere so you can watch that video. But I'll run through the bulbs that I've ordered from Color Blends. And then I'll show you where they're going. And then there's nothing to it but to do it. So I've got to start digging holes and getting these bulbs in the ground. So here we go. All right, so I just came inside here to the kitchen table to unbox these tulip bulbs so I can show you what I got, and you can see how they arrived to me, and it's just easier to do that here in the house. So all the tulip bulbs from Color Blends came in this one gigantic crate, and it has a nice cardboard top, and it's securely fastened together. So let's get into this. All right. All right, so what do we have here? So they just sent a thank you card for the order, which is nice. The planting and care instructions. So if you're new to tulip bulb planting or daffodil bulb planting, Color Blends does send a really good comprehensive instruction guide. So that's something you will get with your order. They have included a really cool calendar. So this is a big wall calendar that has all the months on it. So this will be something good to put in the potting shed. So I appreciate that. All right, this is just the notification that these bulbs were pre-chilled like I requested. And we have my packing order. And then we have the bulbs. So they're all in here. Let me tip the box up so you can see what all we got. So in here we have 100 big apricot bulbs. 100 blushing ladies, 100 Dordogne, 100 mitten, 100 big eartha, and then I also got 5 more ambassador allium bulbs. So all of my tulips, well, here's the ambassador allium bulbs right here. So these will be going around the garden in different places, but these are huge, good, beautiful allium bulbs in their bag. They've got their tag on them, so you know what they are. If I can get it to show to you. There we go. All right. And then these are my 500 tulip bulbs. So 500 bulbs. All of these are in a pinkish, orangish, coral family. All of those names I mentioned all have that coloring to them. And so it should be a really fun display this year up in the garden, the front garden. And so all the tulip bulbs come packed by variety. It tells you, like, these are the Mentons right here. And those are the bag full of bulbs. And these are just beautiful, big, healthy looking bulbs. So, and we will check each bulb individually as we go through. But all of these that I'm touching right now feel nice and firm. All right, let me go outside and let's show you where we're gonna be putting all these, and then we will start digging our holes. All right, so here we are at the front door of the house, and we're going to, just like in years past, if you've watched me before, we're gonna be putting a big patch of tulips here, a big patch of tulips here. We'll put a big patch of tulips under that tree on that curve, and then we'll put a big patch under that tree on that curve. All right, so I've shown you where I'm gonna be planting these, and now I've said this 100 times, but if you're new to the channel, I do live on a very busy street, and when I was showing you where I was gonna be planting stuff out there, you probably heard traffic noise behind me. So for that reason, I'm not gonna do a lot of talking up in the front of the house. I'm gonna set the camera up and let you watch me at least prepare one hole or part of one hole. But let's face it, I mean, who wants to watch somebody dig 4 big pit holes? Because I do plant my tulips with the pit method. So I'm going to dig out that entire section of flower bed, a great big huge pit. That's gonna be 6 to 7 inches deep. And then I will go in with amendments, bulb fertilizer, and my bulbs, and then I'll rebury them all, as opposed to using like an auger and planting one bulb at a time. I've got 500 bulbs out there. And so while it is possible to plant with an auger, and augers typically are a lot less labor intensive, it takes a long time, and especially if you have a regular sized auger. Now, if you have a jumbo auger and you can get 5, 6, 7 bulbs at a time in one hole, that's different. And, you know, Laura at Garden Answer did that with a lot of her bulbs this year. But if you're using an individual sized auger to drill 500 holes, and honestly, by the time, because when I'm planting, and like a lot of people, I'm planting mine in spaces, specific places in the garden. And so I'm gonna be putting around 125 bulbs in each one of those 4 sections. So if I were to use an individual auger that I could only get 1 bulb per hole, which is a typical bulb auger, you get 1 bulb per hole. To do that 125 times in a small display area like that, it's going to become a little bit hard to get the holes to support themselves. The dirt's gonna naturally get loose. They'll start crumbling in. So for me personally, I'm just gonna use my shovel, dig that whole section out, and then I can go in and arrange those bulbs in a very uniform pattern so that in the spring, in a few months, when they bloom out, it'll be a thick display in each section the way I like it. So that's how I'm gonna do it. But again, if you choose the auger method, it really is less labor intensive because you let the drill do the work. But everybody has their own unique way to do it, I guess. So here's how I'm doing it. So with all this rambling done, let me set the camera up, get my shovel, and let's just dig some holes and get this project going. So what these are the tulip bulbs from last year. And they survived my summers here. But as you can see, they're a little bit on the small side. They're a little bit on the rotten side. They're just not big, beautiful, healthy bulbs anymore. They are growing. If I had left them in the soil, they would have done something, but I would not have had a big, beautiful, glorious tulip show like I want. Because here in the South, we just get too hot for them to really thrive the way they want to thrive and to naturalize. So while you can put perennial tulip bulbs in the ground here, and they will come back a little bit, they will never come back as strong as they will the first year you plant them. And so all of these that I come across, I'll look through them. And if I find any that look salvageable, they don't have any rot or mess on them, I can replant those in a pot or something in the back. But most of these are honestly just destined for the trash because they're really not going to be valuable to me in the garden. All right, I'm gonna be using high yield Dutch bulb food in my holes. I'm just gonna spread this in the bottom of the hole, incorporate it in, and then plant my bulbs in the dirt. You could also use Biotone from Espoma or any other bulb food. But you do want it to be something that will actually feed and nourish and help a bulb to grow. An all-purpose plant food would do okay, but a bulb food would do better because it's got the specific nitrogen and potassium contents that a bulb needs. So I just always recommend a bulb food, not necessarily this brand, but just a bulb food when you're planting your bulbs for your best success. Okay, so here we are. You've just watched me dig this hole, put the fertilizer in it, rake it out, and now drop all the bulbs in. And you saw me count out the bulbs. I'm evenly dividing my bulbs so that I have plenty in each section. Now I just dropped them in here. And so what's gonna happen now is I'm just gonna kind of smoosh them around because I want it to be all incorporated. I don't want it to be like Big Bertha there and Blushing Lady here and Mitten here. I want it to be dispersed all around. And so part of just dropping them in there and letting them roll wherever will do that. And then I'm also just gonna get in here real quick and just churn it up with my hand, which you can see, you know, just literally just moving these bulbs around. And then once I've got them moved around, then I will space them out. Now this is a big, beautiful, healthy bulb right here. So let's look at it. So you can see when planting a tulip bulb, it definitely, now this is a good example because it already has a growth, it already has a growth tip on it. So I know that that's my growth tip to put up. And then that's the root end. You can see the little rigidy, bumpity end right there. Most bulbs will have that in some form or fashion. That's where the roots come out. So that always goes down and your growth end always goes up. And so what I'll do is once I get these smushed around, then I'll space them all out and nestle these bulbs down into the soil. And then I'll just backfill the hole. And at this point, I'm like 20 minutes in to this project for this entire pit. So honestly, a 20-minute job. I mean, we'll just call it 30 minutes. So 30 minutes total without stopping and without filming a camera. So if you're not gonna film yourself, you're talking 30 minutes to get 125 bulbs in a hole, dig the hole, put them in the hole, fertilize the hole, and get them arranged and put under. So you're talking a 2-hour project for me to do 4 holes. Really is not that bad. And I don't think that I would save that much time by using an auger and having to do 500 individual holes. So that just kind of goes back to why I do this pit method. It works for me. It may not work for you. Just do whatever if you have the augers, if you have the time and resources and you want to give it a shot, do it. But this works better for me in my particular application. All right, so let me set the camera back up and you can just watch me get these bulbs arranged and buried back under. Here we go. All right, so here I just wanted to show you this pit. So you obviously saw me dig the pit over at the front door and get those bulbs in. And so what I've done here under the crepe myrtle tree is I've just done a nice swoop around. So I'll have a nice thick drift of bulbs here in front of this tulip tree. And I've already got the fertilizer in, I've already got all the bulbs placed, I'm ready to backfill. Okay, I'm working on my last hole now, but I wanted to point something out. As I've been going through these bags and planting, I've got lots of bulbs that appear to have a fungus growing on them. Okay, so you can see that one has it, and this one has it, that one has it. There's a little bit coming up on that one has it. There's several. There's one over there that has it. So, and it was multiple. It wasn't just one variety. It was several of the varieties. So now these bulbs are still nice and firm. I am squeezing this bulb. It is a nice, firm bulb. So I'm thinking that this is just like a mold that started to get on the bulbs because they were in the refrigerators getting their pre-chill, and then they shipped to me on a truck, and then they've sat in this crate for a couple, about a week and a half. They've sat in this crate. So I'm hoping that all this is moisture damage, but we're gonna find out together. I'm not gonna stop planting because of that. Now, if this bulb had been firm or squishy or gross or mealy feeling, then I would have called this a bad batch, and I would have called Color Blends and said, hey, this is not okay. And Color Blends will make it right. They're a fantastic company. They will make it right. But I'm gonna go ahead and proceed with this, but I wanted to point it out because, you know, this happens sometimes. And it doesn't mean that the bulbs necessarily are bad. It doesn't mean that the bulbs will necessarily not grow. Now, I could have some germination or growth issues, not germination, but some growth issues in the spring, but unfortunately, only time will tell. So we're proceeding, but I wanted to point this out because if you order bulbs or if you buy bulbs in the store, that's not necessarily something to freak out about. I think that this bulb is ultimately going to be just fine. But it's something to be mindful of. So there you go. All right, so I've got them all planted, the dirt put back in. I even washed off the sidewalk and let all that dry. So all my tulips are planted. We are just ready for spring here now at Horticulture Geek. All right, guys, that is it for me here today at the Horticulture Geek Gardens. I hope you've enjoyed watching me get my tulips in the ground here and how I do it. So like I said, you know, if you want to do the pit method or the auger method with individual holes, do whatever works for you. That personally, digging that pit is just much easier to me than individually auging all those holes. It's just something about it. For me personally, it just makes better sense the way I plant my bulbs. Now, if I had, let's just take Laura at Garden Answer, for example. If I had huge, massive flower beds like she has, and I was taking those bulbs and putting them in sweeping drifts through the flower beds, then yes, those augers would be ideal, because then I could do 3 or 4 here, and then 3 or 4 here, and 3 or 4 here, and 3 or 4 here. But the way I do it, where I put them in tight spacing in 4 different spots, the pit method just to me works. So I hope that was educational for you, especially if you're thinking about planting tulips or bulbs. Make sure you get that bulb food in your hole. And if you're in the South and you think you want to plant some tulips, you still have time. You need to get it done this month in January. You do not want to wait any longer, but you probably could have to the end of the month to get bulbs in the ground. But your bulbs really do need to have some time in the ground. They've got to establish their roots so that they can then push up the flowers for you. So if you're out and about and you see bulbs at your local garden centers or big box stores, or if you want to jump onto websites like Color Blends or Holland Bulb Farms or any of those companies and order some stuff, they all still have some limited stock. Hey, feel free to do it down here in the South. If you're in the North, your ground is probably so frozen at this point, it's past the time. I don't think you can do it. But if your ground's not frozen, you might can give it a shot. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope that this has been some form, fashion, educational for you, or just a good time hanging out and watching me dig some holes and plant some bulbs. So thank you for joining me. Until next time, guys. Oh, but don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It'll tell you every time that we post a new video. I'd love to have you follow along on our journey, especially if this is your first time here with me at Horticulture Geek. Hit that subscription so that you can follow along and see what else we get up to and what other projects that I have in store. So, but until next time, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.